Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will show you how to connect to an Amazon EC2 instance without requiring a public IPv4 address using Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Before we dive into the demo, let me quickly introduce about myself. My name is Thirumavalavan Srinivasan. I have over 20 years of IT industry experience. I'm also an AWS community builder. And these are the AWS certifications that I have achieved in the past. And I'm also an ex-AWS partner AI/ML Black Belt. And I'm also an ex-AWS partner ambassador. I think that's enough introduction about me. Now let's go ahead and quickly see what EC2 Instance Connect endpoint is. Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint is an AWS service that allows you to securely connect to your instances and other VPC resources from the internet via SSH or RDP without requiring the instance to have a public IPv4 address. With Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, you no longer need an internet gateway in your VPC, and you don't need a public IP address on your resource. And you don't need a bastion host or jump host to connect to your private instance, or you don't need any agent to connect to your resources. Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint combines identity-based and network-based access controls, providing the isolation, control, and logging needed to meet your organization's security requirement. The EC2 Instance Connect endpoint service is an AWS service that allows the users to use the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint to connect from the internet to their instances that are in private subnets. The EC2 Instant Connect endpoint in private subnet acts as a private tunnel so that the user can connect to their instances that are in the private subnets. Access to create and connect to EC2 Instant Connect endpoints is controlled by IAM permissions, that is Identity and Access Management permissions. You can configure additional security group rules on your instances to restrict inbound traffic. For example, you can use inbound rules on your instances to only allow traffic on management ports from the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Now let's see the benefits of using EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. You can connect to your instances without requiring the instances to have a public IPv4 address. AWS charges for all public IPv4 addresses, including public IPv4 addresses associated with running instances and elastic IP addresses. You can connect to your instances from the internet without requiring your VPC to have an internet gateway, and you can control access to the creation and use of the EC2 Instance Connect endpoints to connect to instances with IAM policies and permissions. All attempts to connect to instances, both successful and unsuccessful, are logged in the CloudTrail. Now let's see some of the prerequisites to create the Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. First, AWS regions. Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint is supported in all AWS regions except Canada West for now. AMIs, Amazon Machine Images. The supported AMIs are dependent on how you connect to your instances with EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. You can connect to your instance using EC2 console, SSH, or RDP. If you use the EC2 console to connect to your instance using EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, the instance must have EC2 Instance Connect installed. EC2 Instance Connect comes pre-installed on some of the latest AMIs that includes Amazon Linux 2023 or Amazon Linux 2, that is 2.0 2019-0618 or later, and Mac OS Sonoma 14.2.1 or later, Mac OS Ventura 13.6.3 or later, Mac OS Monterey 12.7.2 or later, and Ubuntu 20.04 or later. EC2 Instance Connect is not pre-installed on some of the AMIs, but you can install it on instances that are launched using the following AMIs. That includes Amazon Linux 2 prior to version 2.0 2019-0618, CentOS Stream 8 and 9, Mac OS Sonoma prior to 14.2.1, and Ventura prior to 13.6.3, and Monterey prior to 12.7.2, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 and 9, and Ubuntu 16.04 or 18.04. On these AMIs, you can install the agent, Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. You can install it. If you use SSH to connect to your instance using EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, the supported AMIs are dependent on whether you use your own key pair or you want EC2 Instance Connect to handle the ephemeral key. If you use your own key pair, you can use any Linux AMI. If you want EC2 Instance Connect to handle the ephemeral key, the instance must have EC2 Instance Connect installed. And if you use RDP, that is a remote desktop protocol, to connect to your instance using EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, you must use a Windows AMI. And next, IPv4 address. Your instance must have an IPv4 address. It can be either a private or public one, but you need an IPv4 address. EC2 Instance Connect endpoint does not support connecting using an IPv6 address. Next, security groups. The EC2 Instance Connect endpoint and the instance that you want to connect to are each assigned security groups. You need to configure the security group accordingly. I believe you are already comfortable with the security group rules, but anyway, in the demo part I will show you like the minimum permissions that you need to have on the security groups on both EC2 Instance Connect endpoint security group and also the instance security group. And next, granting permissions. You must grant the required permissions to every IAM user who will use EC2 Instance Connect endpoint to connect to an instance. To create or use EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, you must create an IAM policy that grants the users permissions for creating, describing and deleting EC2 Instance Connect endpoints, and also you have to use EC2 Instance Connect open tunnel action to use EC2 Instance Connect endpoint to connect to instances. And these are the prerequisites. And now let's see some of the limitations with Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Only ports 22 and 3389 are supported. EC2 Instance Connect endpoint does not support connections to an instance using IPv6 address. Each EC2 Instance Connect endpoint can support up to 20 concurrent connections. EC2 Instance Connect endpoint is intended specifically for management traffic use cases and not for high volume data transfers. High volume data transfers are throttled. Maximum duration for an established TCP connection is 1 hour, that is 3600 seconds. You can specify the maximum allowed duration in an IAM policy, which can be 3600 seconds or less. When client IP preservation is enabled, the instance to connect to must be in the same VPC as the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Client IP preservation is not supported when traffic is routed through an AWS transit gateway. The following instance types do not support client IP preservation, that is like C1, CG1, CG2, G1, G2, HI1, M1, M2, M3 and T1 instances. If you are using these instance types, you have to set the preserved client IP parameter to false. Otherwise, attempting to connect to these instance types using EC2 instance connect endpoint will fail. And this is the architecture for the EC2 instance connect endpoint. So in this demo, I will show you, I'll go ahead and quickly create a VPC with two private subnets in two availability zone, and then I will go ahead and create an EC2 instance connect endpoint on one subnet. It will go anyway create a interface in this subnet, and we will have a security group. We'll create a security group and assign it to this interface, and we will go ahead and create an private EC2 instance on another subnet, and we'll have another security group here, and then we'll show you how we can enable set the permissions. Like we need to have outbound traffic to connect SSH connections from this security group to this one, and then we need to allow the inbound traffic for SSH connection to the on the security group that is assigned on the EC2 instance. We need to enable the inbound traffic for SSH connections from the security group that is assigned to the EC2 instance connect endpoint security group. I'll show you that in the demo. I think that's enough theory for now. Let's dive into the AWS management console, and I will show you in how we can create and connect to the private instance using EC2 instance connect endpoint. Okay, I have now logged into my AWS management console. Let's go into VPC console and create a new VPC here. And if I go into the VPC, I already have one VPC, that is the default VPC. I'm going to go ahead and create one, and I'm just going to create VPC and more. I'll name it as EC2 maybe I'll just name it EC2 instance connect demo VPC, and I'm going to leave it as IPv4 CIDR block as 10.0.0.0/16, and I'm not going to assign any IPv6 CIDR block, because if you remember, EC2 instance connect endpoint doesn't support IPv6. And I'm going to leave it to availability zone, and I don't need any public subnet. I just need two private subnets, and I don't need any NAT gateway, and I don't need any VPC endpoints for this demo. I'm just going to select it as none, and then this is the resources that it is going to create: VPC and then two subnets, and then it's going to create the route tables, and there's no network connections, so it's all private. Let's go ahead and create this one. This will be really quick, and yeah, it's created now. You can see our new VPC is created here. Okay, now let's go ahead and create security groups. And I'm going to create two security groups. One for EC2 instance connect security group. This is the one that I will assign it for the EC2 instance connect endpoint. I'm just going to use the same for the description and select the EC2 instance connect demo VPC that we just created. I'm not going to set any rules. I'll come back to this later. I'm just going to go ahead and create that, and we are done here. And I'm going to create another security group. This one is for the instance that we are going to create. That's for the private EC2 instance. Now I'm going to name it as EC2 instance security group. I'm just going to name this one as same EC2 instance security group. Select this VPC, and I'm just going to create the security group. So now we have created two security groups. So I'm going to set edit the inbound and outbound rules here. So now let's start with the EC2 instance connect security group. This is the one that I'm going to assign to the endpoint. So for this one, we don't need any inbound rules, but we need to set the outbound rule By default it has all traffic enabled. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to add a rule. I'm just going to set to SSH, and it's the custom one. I'm going to do this, um, EC select the EC2 instance security group. So we are allowing SSH connection to the any instances that are assigned to this EC2 instance security group. So we'll create a new EC2 instance and then assign the EC2 instance security group to that. So we will have SSH permission here. Like, so I'm going to delete the default one, save the rule here, and next let's go ahead and modify the EC2 instance security group. So this one here, we need the inbound rule. We need to edit the inbound rule for EC2 instance security group. We need to allow the traffic, we need to allow SSH traffic that comes from the security groups, that is the EC2 instance connect security group. Okay, I'm just going to save this one. That's good. So we are good now. So we have created the security group and set the proper inbound and outbound rules. Now let's go ahead and create the EC2 instance. So before we create an instance, we need to have key pair. So I have already created one named EC2 key pair. Okay, and let's go ahead to the instance. I'm going to launch an instance. I'm going to name it as private EC2 instance. I'm going to select Amazon Linux, and that is Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. So if you remember, this AMI is the latest one. It has that EC2 Instance Connect already installed on it. And if you come here, key pair, I'm going to do it like EC2 key pair. And for the network, I'm going to select that EC2 Instance Connect demo VPC. And for the subnet, I'm just going to create it in the US East 1B. That's our architecture, if you remember. And so I'm not going to assign any public IP address. Anyway, we don't need it. This is in the private subnet. And for the security group, I'm going to select existing security group. So we already have a security group created, that is EC2 instance security group. Okay, that everything looks good and I don't need to change anything. I'm just going to launch the instance, and this is going to take some time for the instance to be in that available state. Like while this is getting created, let's go back to VPC console and create the endpoint. I'm just going to create an endpoint here, and then going to create endpoint, and we are going to create EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. That's good. And let's select the VPC, that is our EC2 Instance Connect demo VPC. And we need to select a security group. If you remember, we have created a security group named EC2 Instance Connect security group. That's what we are going to select here. And for the subnet, and I'm going to select US East 1A. So it's gonna create the interface on US East 1A subnet, and everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and create the endpoint, and this is going to take some time. This needs to be in available state. Currently it's pending. It will take some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and come back once this is in available state. Okay, I'm back. Now the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint is created and it is in available state. Now let's go to the EC2 instance. It is in running state now. We can go ahead and connect to it using EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Let's go ahead and see connect, and then let's remember to select EC2 Instance Connect and then connect using EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. And this is the instance that we have. This is the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint that we have created, and it is in available state, and the username is EC2 user, and the max tunnel duration is 3600. Let's connect it. It's getting connected. If you remember, this is the name that we gave for our instance, private EC2 instance, and private IP is 10.0.153.4, and we have connected to the instance. It's Amazon Linux 2023. It already has EC2 instance connect endpoint installed on it. That's good. And go back to that instance here, and if you remember, select that and then see that instance doesn't have any public IPv4 address. The private IPv4 address is 10.0.153.4. That's it, it's 10.0.153.4. This concludes the demo on how to connect to an Amazon EC2 instance without requiring a public IPv4 address using Amazon EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. Thank you for watching, and if you got something out of this video, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more AWS related contents. Thank you. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.